Hey, come on. There we
Hey.
go. Not
Yep.
you.
What?
What? I was talking to Windows. All right, so I can delete that because I don't need that. Okay. So, hello.
Hey. What's up?
Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo.
Something about a moose? What?
I don't know. They might just be messing with you.
I mean, most people usually are. Oh.
You okay?
I almost
Don't fall over.
fell over. We're good. Everything's fine. We're all fine here. How are you?
How are you?
And Chase picks right now to need tech support with streaming nonsense. Nope. Sorry.
Well,
Busy. All right. Ow. That was.
what are you doing over there?
I went to pop my elbow and my shoulder went in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was awkward. Ow. Okay, right. Let us begin. Right, is 572 episode numbers right? Yeah, we're good? Okay. Here we go. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 572 of the Mana Pool here on twitch.tv/themanapool. And for those of you watching live, this is going to be a little weird because it's Tuesday. What?
Say it isn't so.
It isn't so, but that was a lie. It's totally so. It's Tuesday. So, we've got, let's see. Yeah, we didn't record last week because I had a drive that went long, and then another drive after that because I'm stupid that made it extra long. And then I got home and I was dead. So I'm really glad that we didn't record last week. Because it would have been like, meh.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, gotta make that money.
Yeah, but
And
we're
then
here
we're
now.
not recording this week on Thursday because it's Halloween and the two parents of the
That's
the
us.
group, that's them, yeah, will be doing Halloween-y stuff. And Mike probably has a life, but maybe.
I don't know yet.
See? That's a yes, and he doesn't want to hurt my feelings. So, but we didn't want to take 2 weeks off in a row because we had a sweet. Well, I'm proud of myself. I came up with this topic for today, and
All on his own, too.
yeah,
We were
and
talking,
I
and
wanted
he's
to
like,
do,
I have an idea. And I'm like, you have an idea? He's like, I have an idea. So,
yeah, and
Yeah.
we wanted to do it while it was still topical.
yes.
So, but first, I am Chewy, the lead dork. I forgot that part. With me, as always, are these other dorks. Hi, dorks.
Hi, Chewy. I'm Brian. I'm the lead rambler, tangent master of the group. And if I was a fruit today, I think I'd be a green apple. I don't know why.
Oh, you know why.
No, I actually really don't.
Oh, I do. Talk to me after the show.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
Hello, I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy. And if I were a fruit today, I would probably be. Oh God, I almost said potato. That's not right. I would probably.
Tomato would have been fine.
I'd probably be a banana. I distracted myself with that. I couldn't come up with a good answer. Sorry.
Oh, you already had the best answer right off the bat.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And if I was a fruit, I would be my favorite fruit, which is strawberry.
Nice.
All right, then. Well, if I was a fruit, let's see. I would be something kind of bitter and furry. So like a kiwi?
Mango?
Sour peach?
Like I would be a sour peach.
Like,
Lord. All right, so last week on Monday, Wizards of the Coast, we were gonna have a nice short episode of Monday Night Magic. It was gonna be, we're like, all right, here's the tournament, here's the ban restricted update, which is Field of the Dead, and probably Arkham's Astrolabe, which is, it turns out, is what happened.
No Oko for you.
And we went, all right, this is gonna be a short episode. And then the ban restricted list update came out, and we went, yep, this is gonna be a short episode. And then Wizards dropped a bomb from out of nowhere of a new competitive sanctioned format. Bam! And we were like, what?
Yes. Apropos to nothing.
So,
And,
yeah, that ended up being a long episode because we spent a good long time talking about Pioneer. It's called Pioneer, by the way. And while talking to Brian, I think the next day...
yeah. Well, it was on Monday, yeah.
Oh, it was on Monday. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was later that day, yeah.
So while talking to Brian that day before the show, we I came up with the idea just out of the blue of doing sort of, I don't know if this will end up being a Professor Beard teaches formats, but something like that, where we look back at the history of the introduction of new formats. Because, well, the birth and death in a couple of cases of sanctioned formats. So
Sanctioned formats.
yeah, that's the key term.
Yeah, so let's lay down some ground rules real quick. We're not going to be talking about, first off, fan-made formats. No Tiny Leaders, no Frontier, no Oath Breaker, no Cockknocker, none of that. Can I say that on the show? Well, I did, and I'm not going to edit the video.
Question.
One exception, right? Because it turned into an actual sanctioned format. Commander.
Sure, yeah.
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 We'll see how everything plays out, but yeah.
None of that.
And we're not going over online only formats.
Yeah,
Right.
no Rainbow Stairwell or any of that nonsense. Crap that they made up on Magic Online to keep everyone happy. What else? Brian brought up Cube, which isn't a format in the way that we're discussing formats.
Right. It is a way to play Magic, but anybody could come up with a way to play Magic. Maybe you and your friends have a format that you play that's just cards from silver bordered sets, and I don't even know. Like you can make up your own format is the point. So
yeah, so stuff that we've talked about back in the day, ways to play Magic, like Assassin and what was that called?
5 points.
5 points. Yeah.
It's called Star.
Star. There we go. Yeah. None of that.
And then we also did, what was it, Lieutenants and Commanders?
Emperor.
Emperor.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. None of that. Because when I say sanctioned format, that's what we mean. It says sanctioned format. So something that is Wizard approved, that they've been like, hey, look, this is a thing that you can do now.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized there are a couple things I forgot to note in that respect.
How dare
Like
you.
Emperor is an official variant that's in the comprehensive rules, but it's never used in sanctioned tournaments. But I think I forgot to go look up where Two-Headed Giant started. Oh well, whoops.
Yeah, and Two-Headed Giant is also not a format in the way that we're talking about it. Like, Two-Headed Giant is...
Oh, you're right. It's just a different way to play Magic, right?
Yeah.
Right. As is Emperor, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So, okay, we all clear?
I think
Yes,
now
sir.
I am, yes.
Oh, I was talking more to the audience. But yeah, Mike, you all clear?
Yeah, I think I got it now.
I intend to, as the kids say it, fake it until we make it. So if I start to talk about something that's off the table, just say no and keep talking over me. Like usual.
Like usual.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning,
In the beginning.
you played Magic.
Magic.
And that's
And
all
it
there
was
was. You just played Magic.
Good. Or-
And it was good. And on the
Question
seventh
mark.
day, the Garfield rested. But because now I'm gonna be doing this a lot. I'm gonna draw a couple of comparisons to Hearthstone because it's another card game that is much more recent that has
Right.
done some of the same things.
Right.
So like when you
Matt-
first started playing Hearthstone, there was Hearthstone
It was just classic. Yeah.
and there was like Arena,
Yeah.
but
And I feel like it is helpful to have some comparison here because let us not forget, Magic was really the first trading card game. Not the first collectible trading cards, you got baseball cards and things like that, but it was really the first one that laid the groundwork for this type of game. And so a game like Hearthstone has the benefit of learning from the successes and failures of Magic. The greatest teacher failure is, and all that good stuff. So when we're talking about some of these early formats, it's not to be like, oh, Magic was just terrible, but it doesn't mean that we look back with rose-colored glasses either and go, it was perfect from the beginning. Because was Magic perfect in the beginning, where you could run 20 lands and 40 lightning bolts? Maybe for somebody. Probably not for me, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because the game was new and everything was new, the genre was new. It was just Magic.
Right.
Right.
And then
And you could,
and at some point, which Mike will now teach us, there were formats.
Yeah, there were other formats. So it's unclear. So we're going to be talking mostly about constructed formats. It wasn't really clear from what I read when exactly Sealed, Booster Draft, and Rochester Draft as formats really started. But I know there are stories about them from early in the game's history. Like, I think Booster Draft was originally a player-created format that people started hearing about and talking about, and eventually the DCI started using for events. But so yeah, first from 1993, you just had Magic. It was Magic. In 1995, they decided to change it up a bit, and the game, for the purposes of sanctioned events, was split up into two formats: Type 1 and Type 2. Type 1 was Magic. At the time, it was also Type 1 was like what people were used to. Classic Magic. I think it was called Classic for a period of time. And what we now know as Standard was called Type 2. And that was the whole, the last 2 years of expansions plus the most recent core set. And the reason I did that was
not
because...
at first.
Not at first?
Yeah. I did some digging.
Okay.
he did research.
What was it like at the very beginning?
Let's see here. It inherited the banned and restricted list from Vintage, which was Type 1.
Mm-hmm.
And Legal were then the most current basic set and the latest 2 Magic expansions only. So it was revised, and the Dark and Fallen Empires was the first Standard.
Okay, the last 2 expansions. Okay.
Well, remember we didn't have block sets until, was it Mirage?
Yeah, Mirage was... Well, no, I say... Mirage was the first one that was kind of designed as a block.
Okay.
Ice Age just kind of... Ice Age Homelands Alliances were just kind of by accident a block.
Right.
All right. One more time, for those in the chat who won't let it go, we're not talking about Two-Headed Giant, because in the format, in the way we're using the word format, Two-Headed Giant is not a format. A format, we're talking about, for the purposes of this conversation, we're talking about a set of cards. Whereas Two-Headed Giant is just another way to play within a format. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
A
there's
set of
I
cards
don't
with some kind of
care.
special deck construction rules.
Yeah, I don't care if it's sanctioned by WotC. That's not what we're talking about.
And this is one of the dangers of this discussion is we knew that there was a chance of people having different interpretations. And this is not an attack on anybody that loves Two-Headed Giant and says, well, we should talk about Two-Headed Giant. That we can talk about Two-Headed Giant some other time, but that's not what we're talking about today. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, so Type 1 and Type 2. And
Sealed was created at the same time as a sanctioned format.
Yeah.
January 10th, 1995. Where did it go? Right here. The Duelist Convocation is proud to announce that we now sanction 3 types of Magic the Gathering tournaments. The Type 1, Type 2, and Sealed Deck tournaments. Give event coordinators a choice of tournament types and offer more variety in officially sanctioned events. And this is from the Duelist Convocation revised tournament rules for Magic the Gathering. A word from the director.
And so this is what would we say? July 10th of 2000.
January 10th.
January 10th.
Yeah.
For those that wonder, maybe haven't been playing for years and years and years, how long that term stuck. Standard was called Type 2 when I started playing. I started playing in 2002 or 2003. So we're talking about almost 10 years later. Standard was still called Type 2.
Was it?
And yep. And that might be something where perhaps WotC had already decided it would be called Standard, but everywhere I went, people were like, this is Type 2. And I'm like, that's how I learned it. So it was still, the term was in use.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll go with that.
Okay. I'm not saying my experience was everyone's experience, but that was how it was introduced to me, was as Type 2. And I'm like, that's a funny name.
A little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, and part of the reason they split out Type 1 and Type 2 was because, the first couple of years of the game, the cards for those first few sets were really scarce. They had printed supplies that they thought would last for months, and they were sold out at the source within weeks. People just loved the game, and there were not enough cards printed for the early sets to meet the true demand that people had for it. So those cards were just scarce. It was hard to get some of them, and they wanted to make it a little easier for people to get into sanctioned play. So Type 2 was established to be based more on recent cards.
Mike, were you playing at this point, or was this a little before you?
I learned how to play in 1995.
Okay. So right around this time.
Yeah, I had no awareness of any of this stuff going on.
So I am legitimately curious about the public reception to this, and switching just for a second over to Hearthstone as an example. Hearthstone introduced set rotation after a couple expansions, and that move was seen by Inevitable as a lot of people that had, played card games before and said, yeah, you need to actually, people don't want to play against the same cards forever and ever and ever. But a lot of the community was very much, well, this is just going to make us buy more cards. And
a very vocal portion, at least.
Yes. Yeah. So I was wondering.
Blizzard money grab.
Yeah. I would take the position that was inevitable, but that is my opinion. It's not the opinion of everyone, obviously. And I'm curious if we had a similar reaction in the Magic community. If you were not aware of the situation at the time. So,
yeah, no, I had no idea there was any kind of competitive scene for the game really until I started getting Inquest magazine in high school, which was, 98, 99, 2000, somewhere in that range when I started getting Inquest.
Okay. So I don't have any official data to back it up, or one way or the other.
I mean, I've read about the response because Mark Rosewater has written about it in articles and he's talked about it on his podcast. And yeah, there were plenty of people complaining. It was like, you can't tell me I can't play with my card, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Well, and especially because this, the game was really setting a precedent. I could see people saying, well, I've, invested in these cards and I finally have a set of this and that and the other. So
But that's why they kept Type 1 as its own format still. So people who had those older cards could still continue to play
Oh,
in events
oh, absolutely.
that were sanctioned as Type 1. They
I
didn't just want to say no.
I,
They did
and
make
I,
accommodations for those people.
right. I know from personal experience that simply making accommodations doesn't necessarily satisfy everyone when they feel like this was my game and now it's, whatever. But
Right.
not really here to speculate too much. I was just curious if there was much of a parallel. Chewy, you weren't playing then yet, were you?
No.
Okay.
I didn't start until Ice Age, and then Homelands was my first actual new set.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
So
And I
okay.
never even heard of tournaments until, like Mike said, until I started getting Inquest way later.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like we said, even though Ice Age block was kind of an accidental block with the way it was designed and concepted, the very first block constructed format was Ice Age block constructed. And I don't remember, I don't have the detailed note about this. I don't know whether it was established with Ice Age or whether it was established with Homelands or Alliances. But Ice Age block constructed was the first block constructed format.
Huh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
Yeah.
We still have block
And that's one where you can only build decks with cards from that block. Like there's not even any access to the core set.
We still have block constructed, right?
No.
We don't. The very last time block constructed was used as like a premier play format, like for GPs or Pro Tours or whatever, was Theros block, and it was officially retired after after the Tarkir block.
Really? Okay, I find that interesting.
Tarkir block was the last one that officially has a block constructed format associated with it. After that, it was retired. Also because the block format went away.
I remember that I heard about block constructed way back in the day, and one of the last memories I really have of any discussion of block constructed was, I think it was Innistrad block constructed, because they banned that anthem that gives flying creatures +1/+1.
Yeah.
Or was it
token creatures?
Token creatures.
+1 and vigilance. Ugh.
+1/+1 and vigilance. And I was like, wait, block constructed still a thing? And that was kind of like a wake up call. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm just not hearing about it anymore. But it's officially retired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
But after that, there was still Return to Ravnica block constructed, and that's where I got the idea for the Maze's End deck that I kept playing for a while. And then Theros block constructed, and that was the last time it was ever used for GPs and Pro Tours and whatnot.
Yeah, apparently it still existed in as a concept as long as there were blocks.
Yeah.
And you could run DCI sanctioned events for them, apparently, all the way up until Ixalan block, but they weren't.
Yeah, but
used
no
for
one was scheduling. Yeah, no one was scheduling premier events with those as the format anymore.
Yeah.
Intangible Virtue, we got it in the chat. Thank you, Dementor.
Ah, yes, that was that anthem effect, and it was so strong in Innistrad block constructed that it actually made a banned list. And I was like, that was not my first time hearing about block constructed, but it had been such a long time that I was like, wait, that's still a thing. So,
yeah, and some of the block constructed formats did have to have some things banned, like Lin Civi eventually got banned in Masks block. Ice Age, I know Thawing Glaciers and Zurin Orb were on the block constructed ban list.
And
I don't know very much about other
Fiends
stuff.
and Amulet of Quaz.
Oh yeah, because they were antique cards, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't
Squandered Resources was banned in Mirage block. What was that, Dirk?
Like Skull Clamp, didn't that get banned either really close to the pre-release, or
did that get banned in? Was that block constructed or extended that it got banned in?
Block construct. It's listed here under banned cards in Mirrodin block.
Okay,
Mirrodin block banned like all of the stuff that was banned in standard, right?
Yeah,
So,
all of the artifact lands, Disciple of the Vault, Ether Vial, Arcbound Ravager, and Skull Clamp.
That sounds about right. Because if you think those things were bad in standard, Ooh boy, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
In a more in a more focused, less options. That would be heck. That would be like so many affinity mirror matches, just everywhere, which sounds miserable. So, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, wait a minute. Let's go back to the beginning.
Right.
Okay.
Let's back up.
We sort of
Back it
got off top. Okay, so when formats were first introduced, we had Type 1, sometimes known as Classic. We had Type 2, and then Sealed, which that's a different... Again, in the way that we're using the term format, that's not a format. Limited doesn't count.
Yeah.
For this
Nowadays, sealed is 6 boosters. It used to be 1 starter deck or 1 tournament pack and 3 boosters.
I remember tournament decks, tournament packs,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it was interesting because it actually meant that the way they did the tournament packs, it was kind of the same. It was like as many cards as 6 boosters, but you actually had no duplicates among them unless you had a foil. So
Yeah, and it had basic lands in there.
and it had basic lands. So
Yep.
you didn't have the sealed pool where you had like 3 of a particular common removal spell, or even 2 unless it was a foil. So it's kind of a different format because you knew if you saw a card once, that was it.
Unless it was in one of the boosters you were given. Yeah.
But we're
that's
still
true.
not talking about Seal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Keep moving.
Okay, I wasn't aware we weren't talking about sealed.
I,
Sorry.
I literally just said, but that's not a format, and then Brian went off.
What?
Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we should have talked about some of this beforehand to get more stuff straight, but keep going.
Apparently,
We are
yeah.
great at this.
Cross off all your notes about limited, Mike. That's pretty much it.
All right, got it.
There we go.
Nom nom nom.
Okay, so yeah, we had Type 1, Type 2, and also Sealed, which doesn't count for the purposes of this conversation. Now, and we discussed why, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because Type 1 was the way it is, the way it's always been, and Type 2 was the new thing.
Yep.
To keep things changing and keep things from becoming stale, right? Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what was next?
All right. I do have a note for 1996 that it was the possible origin of like a proto EDH format. Someone posted an article somewhere.
Really?
But besides that, yeah.
Whoa.
That feels super early.
Yeah. It wasn't quite like the EDH we knew eventually, but we won't get too much into that. It was just an interesting little trivia bit. But
Sure.
1997 was when, okay, so...
Oh, wait a minute.
Huh?
My sources say that Legacy was created in 96.
I have 97.
Really?
Okay. So in one of those years,
Either
Legacy-
96 or 97. We're not
Legacy
historians.
was created from a format that kind of existed that people called Classic Restricted, where everything on the Classic, Type 1 list that was limited to 1 per deck was banned instead. And that's basically what Legacy was. And it was called, it was called Type 1.5. It was between Type 1. It was, after Type 1, but not Type 2.
Yeah.
So Type 1.5 took the banned and restricted list from Type 1 and also banned everything on the restricted list.
Yeah, here we go. May 1st, 96 was when it
May
was
1st,
officially
96.
added to the tournament rules.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, it was just another way to play with old cards that didn't have the most blatantly broken ones in the format. With Type 1 just being a concession like, hey, we know that these cards on the restricted list are so ridiculous that they really warp the game, but we're not going to say you can't play with them. If you have the cards, you can play with your cards. But Legacy cleaned that up a bit. It's like, here's a less silly version of that format.
and it shared the banned and restricted list with Vintage for a long time.
Yeah, they were tied to each other.
Yeah.
A change in one was an automatic they would just make changes to the list for Type 1, and it would automatically affect the list for Type 1.5.
Yeah. So that was what we now call Legacy, but at the time it was 1.5 or Classic Restricted.
Yes.
Why was it called Classic Restricted if they didn't restrict the cards?
I don't know, and I wasn't interested in trying to find out.
Awkward.
I guess it was just a more restricted version of Classic, but then you're just overloading the word restricted, so I guess that's why they didn't call it that anymore.
It's almost like the word historic already has meanings in Magic.
Or the word, why they started retiring the word play with
Within play, yeah.
in play, or when you play a card, changing it with because play was used for all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
So restricted here being used a couple different ways. Let's just make it the name of a format where we don't restrict anything. They'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense? Question mark?
It's a barrier to entry, Chewy. If you can't figure out this format, you don't belong here.
I mean, that actually makes sense for all the formats, actually. It's like, look, if you can't figure out what's legal, you're not going to be able to figure out how to play. Hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's really bad when you can't even tell what the format is based on the name. That's like naming, I don't know, standard, Innistrad block constructed, and you're like, that doesn't work.
Makes perfect sense.
Right.
All right.
Right. Continuing on, because I'm not going to hold us up all night.
Continuing on. And then my notes for this next thing also say 97, but I don't know, maybe they're also wrong and it's 96. So in one of those years, Extended was established.
Extended.
And I think it was called Extended at the time. Sometimes it was called Type 1.x, but that's kind of a dumb name. It's not very snappy.
Was July. What was announced in May and was sanctioned in July of 97.
Okay.
Because at this point, we already had Type 1 and Type 2 and Type 1.5. So, Extended...
Yeah.
So Extended was... Okay, wait. Here, I found a document here.
Okay, good.
No, wrong screen. There we go. Okay, so... This is... What is this? This is a ruling summary. From... Oh, God. Never mind. Just trust me on this. All right, so standard tournaments. So this is from 97. Standard tournaments, also, this is also called Type 2 tournament style. So the word standard was around, apparently. Because it says, can be composed of cards from the most recent edition of The Gathering, currently 5th edition, and all sets from the 2 most recent blocks, currently Ice Age Homelands Alliances and Mirage Visions Weatherlight. So this was, the word standard was back then used.
Okay.
But it was still Type 2. Like those were interchangeable completely.
Right, which makes sense with what I was hearing then. So okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you were hearing that like 8 years later, which trips me right the hell out.
Well, you know how some people latch onto the past.
I mean, we still call it EDH, so you know. Classic Restricted, also called Type 1.5. Yeah. And then scroll. We have Extended Tournaments. This is sometimes called Type 1.75, but the DCI is refraining from giving this type an official number.
1.75.
Oh my god.
Dear Lord, it's a good thing we didn't come up with, a restricted in extended. What would that be? Type 1.666666.
Well, imagine if you kept getting closer and closer to Type 2 and you're like 5 in. It's, like at that point, you're 5 decimal. You're in the 100,000th place in order to keep it metrically correct or numerically correct, fractionally.
So look, the limit as formats approach standard.
Yeah. Yeah. How many
joke.
how many formats do we need to create before we can effectively approximate the golden ratio?
Are we approaching an event horizon here? Like.
Man. So, okay. The DCI originally released this tournament format on May 1st, 97 as a replacement for Classic Restricted, but decided on, what comes after May? June 1st, to change this decision and support both formats. Look, they almost killed Legacy with Extended. Also
Oops.
long ago.
Well, you have to think, and I think that this is an interesting point of this discussion that we're
boss.
having. You have to think that Wizards must have thought we have limited resources. Not the card, not the podcast yet. We just have scarcity. It's an economic concept. And our players will only want to play a certain way. At a certain point, we simply reach a threshold of formats. So they probably thought, all right, well, this is something that we think our players would enjoy. Maybe this other format hasn't been seeing the numbers we'd like. Not that, we have anything against it. It's just, it's not where it needs to be. So this seems like an adequate replacement. Geez, nowadays, if you tried to say that they were killing any kind of format, more than they already are. No, I mean, more than people already assume.
I was about to say
How
that
about
would be a Tuesday.
people already say that they do, but I think they know by now that enough people play, well, pretty much anything. They don't want to isolate those players by saying, yeah, we're not supporting the format you love anymore. So interesting that they were a little more forward about it at this point, but then they reverse course.
Yeah, I'm not sure based on what, because this is just the rules.
Yeah, who knows?
Sheet,
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was originally, let's see, cards from any edition of the basic set from revised edition on, and including Chronicles, plus any expansion from the Dark on.
Yeah, and it had a much longer window for rotation than Standard did, but also they changed the rotation rules a few times over the years. So the window wasn't always the same. So that's what made it confusing.
Right. It was very confusing trying to figure out when cards rotated out of Extended. And it's almost like the opposite of Pioneer, where the ban list for Pioneer is literally 5 cards that are meant, and it's meant to weaken the mana basis, so you actually have to think about the colors you play. And in Extended, the dual lands were legal for, was it the dual lands or the original?
Yeah, the original dual lands, they had a special exception for a while, long after the core set that they were in had rotated out.
To basically say, well, these cards aren't legal in Standard anymore, and haven't been for a long time, and would have rotated out of Extended, but we want you to be able to play with them. So, is it really like the original ones?
Yeah.
Wow, those must have been
Why is that not
terribly expensive.
Oh, because it was from revised on, and they were still in revised, right?
Yeah, they were still in revised.
Okay, I was like, why is there no mention of that here? Because they were just legal, duh.
Yeah. Yeah, revised was the last that they were printed. They came out of 4th edition.
Yeah. So yeah, if I pulled up a history of Extended here. Nope. There it is. So when it was founded, it included the most recent 3 years of core sets and expansion sets. Along with all promotional cards that were never printed in a set. So the book cards, essentially.
Yeah, the book cards and the Nelethny Dragon.
Yeah. This accumulated as new sets were released and had several blocks rotate out every 2 to 3 years. So yeah, it was super weird.
Yeah.
Like what it shows here is when Onslaught block was printed, Ice Age, Alliances, Homelands, Mirage block 5th edition, and the dual lands all went out.
Wow.
So you lose Ice Age block, in quotes, Mirage block, and a full 5th edition. And then when Ravnica came out, you lost Tempest block, Urza block, Mask block, and 6th edition. So it was really big and weird, and it was almost non-rotating until it rotated. Then it was huge.
I'm like, that means just huge swaths of the collection just died and were gone.
Yeah. And then, well, okay, we'll just leave it at that for the moment. That's how Extended was at this point in time.
Right.
All right, so that was the introduction of Extended as a way to sort of bridge the gap between Standard and Legacy.
Yeah, essentially.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
With a really big rotation, so it was actually in between.
Yeah. And if someone had a favorite block constructed deck that they wanted to keep playing but soup it up with other cards, and they could do that too and play Extended.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes us up to, what was that, in the middle of 97?
Yeah, that was 1997.
Okay.
My next note is just a side note that MTGO was established in 2002.
Oh, wow.
That's just a side note. And my next note for like a new or major change to sanctioned constructed formats comes from 2004.
Oh, wow. Is that when the
That's
split
when
happened?
Yeah, that's when the legacy ban list became independent from the vintage banned and restricted list. And that's also when the formats officially got their names, and got their names vintage, legacy, standard, extended, and the type N names were retired in an official sense. People would still call it that for a while, like Brian said, but
Oh, okay.
Wizards of the Coast stopped using the type N names.
Okay, yeah, okay. Now that you say that, I remember this, because this was after we were all playing, because 2004 was when Mirrodin was happening, right?
Sounds right.
Or was starting to happen, because, like, in June of 2004,
Yeah.
Skull Clamp was banned in Standard, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This was during Mirrodin block. And yeah, we started playing the block before, we all started playing together, the block before that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they were called Standard, and then sometimes in parentheses you'd see Type 2.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Brian is absolutely right.
Aha, it happens every now and then.
And then after that, they, like Mike said, they just stopped officially using Type 2 and Type 1 and Type 1.5 and Type 1.x, as Extended was eventually known as. Sort of, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
The 1.75, I don't think ever actually caught on very well, because I'd literally never heard that until I started digging for this episode. But I do remember 1.x once somebody said it. I don't remember if that was Brian or chat, but somebody said it.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, Legacy and Vintage are no longer sharing a ban list, and a bunch of stuff got banned and unbanned and changed around in Legacy to celebrate that.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So then what you got?
My next note is another side note. 2006 is the possible beginning of like the official EDH Rules Committee web presence.
Really?
Yeah.
Makes
Possible.
sense. You think about it.
Because this is a format that it's a fan made format. We mentioned that a very early version of it could have started in 1986, but it was also something that was really championed by people in the judge community as a fun way to spend time playing with each other. And it started to get more popular, and more people heard about it, more people wanted to start playing it, and they started to establish a web presence with, official rules, quote unquote official ban list. So they're really just more suggestions for the social contract and stuff like that, in forums where they could like answer people's questions and whatnot.
Dude, you're right, because 06 was after I graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was working at Circa is when I listened to a lot of MTG radio.
Mm-hmm.
With, oh god, I feel bad now, I've forgotten their names. Trevor and Tom, was that their names?
Sounds right.
I know Tom was one of them, because there were two Toms. There was the Monday Night Magic Tom, and then there was this Tom.
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's right. But at some
Did we
point,
have Trevor on as a guest early on in this show's history?
probably. But anyway, yeah, I know that while I was working in circles, when I was listening to MTG Radio, and eventually MTG Radio decided, you know what, we're just going to talk about EDH just all the time. And they sort of just became an EDH podcast, which is when I started to really get into it, and I think that's when we all started to kick around the idea of building EDH decks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, Chewie, do you have anything before 2010?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
in 2008, they changed how Extended works. So instead of stuff rotating every 2 to 3 years, instead, on March 1st, 2008, Extended changed to the last 7 years of blocks and core set, and it rotated once a year. So when Standard rotated, so did Extended.
Oh, wow.
So like when Zendikar released, Onslaught Block in 8th edition rotated out. So it was a 1-for-1, essentially.
Okay.
That didn't last long. But that was March 2008. Yeah. Which, wait, when did Extended start?
Extended started, I have it in 1997.
Right. So
So we're talking about 11 years later.
yeah, so it did its thing where it had this massive rotation every 2 or 3 years. A few times. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what, this is silly. We're going to it's just going to rotate once a year, and it'll just be a big Standard. Sort of. Instead of this weird thing that grows and grows and grows, and then a large chunk of it gets knocked off. It was just weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were doing their best to try to keep it alive. It's kind of almost the opposite of killing it off. They were more just like, what can we do with this format?
Yeah, it is around this point that I started to notice that the PTQ season was really big. So there were different seasons throughout the year for what PTQs and what like the Pro Tour was and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And people really only played Extended when they had to. At least a lot of people only played Extended when they had to. Whereas Block Constructed, nobody played until they were forced to, and then they hated it.
You kind of got through it.
Yeah, it's like, well, damn it, we have to do Block Constructed now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Extended was the same, but it seemed like there was a lot less misery involved. Because people did still play Extended, as their format, but and there were like people known as Extended players primarily, but like no one's known as a Block Constructed player. Just stop. Like,
Yeah.
Or at least you'll only be known as that for like a year or two.
yeah,
A year or 3 months. So
exactly.
Man, Ravnica was so great. Then they came out with Gatecrash. It just sucked.
So okay, so what happens in 2010?
All right, 2010 is when Commander became official for Wizards of the Coast, and it received its current name. Before it was called Elder Dragon Highlander, but they wanted to get away from that. I guess because they didn't want the connection to some other fantasy property. They wanted their own word for it.
Mhm.
So Commander.
That, and it could potentially lead to legal issues, maybe, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But the Commander EDH Rules Committee, the player community, were still the ones managing the rules and managing the suggested ban list.
Right.
Yeah, which they still are.
Yes, they still are. Mm-hmm.
And it is for sanctioned tournaments. It is the ban list, but as we know, in your local group, it is suggested. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to be that guy running every card on the ban list, you go right ahead.
There is another group that manages like a specific one-on-one commander ban list. I don't think the rules have any real variations. There used to be more variations between that rule list and the regular commander rule list, but I don't know if there are anymore. I haven't checked on that in a while.
You mean what they call themselves, CEDH these days? For competitive, I think. Used to be known as like.
It used to be known as
Canadian
French
Highlander.
commander, and then people
French
I think
commander,
call
yeah.
it like 1v1 commander, which I think is what Magic Online uses. But Magic Online has its own separate ban list for 1v1 versus paper. But yeah.
Okay. So that's when Commander became official.
Official 2010. Mm-hmm.
And now we're talking about, stuff that I remember. So, aha.
Aha. Okay,
Yeah.
so what came after that?
After that, in 2011,
Oh,
Modern
okay,
was
wait a minute.
established.
Then before that,
Okay.
Extended had another change in 2010.
Oh yeah, I didn't write down the extended changes, so if there's one of those, just go ahead and interject it. Yeah.
Yeah, so in 2008, remember, they changed it to the last 7 years, and it would rotate every year. And then in June of 2010, for some reason, I can't remember this at all. I remember it happening, but I don't remember why. They changed it to the last 4 years of blocks and core sets that rotated every year.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut it almost in half. Let's see if we can find out why. For explanation on this, read the Week That Was column today and the latest developments column next Friday. 404. How about this one? 404. Oh, well.
Gotta love it.
So,
But I can only assume they were trying to do something to just freshen it up.
probably. Because I think at this point, people were starting to hate it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was stagnating.
Probably. You'd
And
think
new
with
sets
it,
weren't having much of an impact anymore.
yeah, you'd think with it rotating every year, it would get less. It's like stagnant, but I really can't remember why they did this. I remember I read it at the time and went, I don't play this anyway, so whatever. But I really hated it back in the day when they would have this big announcement and then down at the bottom it'd say, for why, go read these other things. And now those other things don't exist anymore in ways that are easy to find. So
Yeah. And sometimes, like, go read this other thing later in the week, and you just had to remember to go back and look.
yeah, like this says read the Week That Was column today and the latest developments next Friday. Like, what?
But granted, the main website used to have a lot more regular Wizards content. So if you kept up with it, then you kept up with it. So you'd probably see it.
Yeah. But so yeah, that was a massive change. They just lopped it in half almost. Went from 7 years to 4. So that was pretty big. But I think they knew that Extended was on its last legs because in 2011, as Mike was saying,
Right. That's when Modern was introduced. Basically as an alternative to Extended as a non-rotating format with a lot of sets in it, and as an alternative in Legacy as a non-rotating set that was easier to get into. Kind of like how way back in the day, Standard was first split off from Vintage.
what the hell was that? I think that was spam that just popped up. Huh.
But yes, so Modern is a non-rotating format. It starts with the 8th edition core set and the Mirrored and Expansion block, the original Mirrored and Expansion block, and goes forward. And it has its own banned list.
Now, why did it start there?
It was a nice arbitrary point to start because that was the introduction of the new card frame.
Hence, modern card frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so at the time, Gavin Verhey was trying to push for a thing called Overextended. But I can't remember what that was.
Was it kind of like just a double-sized standard or something?
Maybe? But instead they decided to make a new non-rotating format and name it Modern because it started with the Modern card back.
Not card back, card frame.
Card frame, sorry, rather, yeah.
Vintage started with the modern card back.
Yeah.
That is true, yeah. And it says here they kicked the ideas around a lot for where to start it. And Aaron Forsyth suggested that just start with the new card frame. And they went, that does not seem arbitrary at all.
It's easy to remember, at least.
Exactly, yeah. And I've seen a lot of people saying, since Pioneer was introduced, that they really took for granted how easy the modern card frame thing made it to find out what was legal in Modern.
Now,
Well,
of course,
to an
because
extent.
I remember because people got to complain as soon as this announcement was made. So that many things on the time shifted sheet aren't modern legal was something that people actually said. And I mean, if you're going by the strict definition, it didn't have the modern, card face.
True, but the format isn't defined as anything in the modern card face is legal. It's defined as when that's modern card face was introduced, that's when the format starts.
Correct,
those people were all just picky bitches.
It took a while to make that news clear to everybody, though.
Yeah.
Especially to some people. So, it was not a widespread problem, but I remember distinctly some people going, "Ba ba ba ba," and I'm like, but
yeah, like he addresses that here. I've got Tom LaPille's Modern Proposal latest developments article up, and it said legacy card legality simple to check. Is it a Magic card that doesn't appear on a fairly short ban list? If so, legal. Boom. And it's like, Modern could never be that simple, as that test sometimes provides a false positive. You couldn't, for example, play your Wild Mongrel from the Garrick versus Liliana dual decks in Modern, even though it was printed with the new card frame. And they said, we're okay with that for 3 reasons. First, new card frame produces a correct result on over 99.99% of printed Magic cards. It's unfortunate that there are exceptions, but shut up.
That's Chewie saying that, not Tom.
Yeah. Second, a card randomly being printed in an ancillary product and therefore becoming legal in Modern would confuse too many players. And that is accurate. And then third, monitoring ancillary products for Modern legality would be a nightmare. Accurate.
Yes.
So, yeah. That's why they did that. Now, I don't think they've given us any sort of in-depth thing about the freaking new set, new format.
Yeah.
This in-depth about why they picked where they did, other than a vague, here's why. But we'll get to that once we get to 2019, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I hate that year. That year stinks.
That year is kind of awful. But, so... yeah, that was Modern. It had its own giant day zero band list, a lot of which is still intact to this day.
Yeah,
although they have done their best to remove stuff when they feel like it's appropriate to do so.
Oh yeah,
to the point that they even removed Golgari Grave Troll and said, "Whoop, back with you." So
it took a few years, but yeah, he got put back on.
But hey, if you had told me 3-4 years ago that we would have a Modern with Jace the Mind Sculptor unbanned, I would be like, yeah, right. But no, he's been unbanned for a while and it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not burning down the house or anything.
Yeah,
Is
he didn't
Stoneford-
break the format, as we
Stone-
spent a long time on Monday Night Magic laughing at every time Jace didn't break Modern.
Is Stoneforge Mystic still banned, or is that unbanned?
Stoneforge Mystic is legal.
It's legal. Okay.
I want to build a deck, but I have not done that yet.
Bad
All
at
right.
this game.
Got my 4 copies are like woo.
They certainly are, yeah, especially since she's also legal in. No, wait, never mind.
I would say,
That
yeah,
was
she's not legal in Pioneer, Mike.
No, she is not. No,
All right.
I got confused. Deathrite Shaman is legal in Pioneer.
There you
Which
go.
once again, which
That's something else
goes
entirely.
to our point, which we'll get into, is maybe a little harder to tell off the top of your head. So, but we'll get to that
Yeah.
in the future.
Right. So it didn't take long after Modern was established for
Extended
various entities to stop scheduling extended events, and Extended was officially retired in 2013.
Yeah.
So long, farewell.
On the Gamepedia page here, it says, as the popularity of Modern continued to rise, WotC made the decision to retire Extended as a sanctioned format on August 7th, 2013. At the time the format retired, the format permitted cards from... Oh, that's all it says. But I found, at some point... Ah, here it is. Retiring the extended format. Here it is. Let's see. As the popularity of Modern has continued to rise, Wizards of the Coast has made the decision to retire Extended. Too many formats can fracture a player base. That's important. Remember that. So we've decided to focus our efforts on our other constructed formats. And that's all we got here. I'm sure that there were other articles on the site around the same time that went into more detail, but that's all we got. And really, the majority of people went, oh, I thought it was already dead, because once Modern happened, Modern exploded, and Extended just sort of withered and died.
But to be fair, this was the nail in the coffin. It was not the begin. Making Modern was not the beginning of the end. It was the end of the end for Extended.
Yeah, the final nail in the coffin was Modern. This was just them putting the last bit of dirt on top.
Yeah.
So
And then they're like, "Is it dead?" Yeah, I think we can tell people it's dead now.
yeah.
But like, it may be that they thought Extended was dead before, and it kept clinging on. So,
Which
Now
I think
it's
is
gone.
why they kept making so many changes to it, to try
Mm-hmm.
to make it better and make people, hey, a shakeup, let's go play this new format. Even though it's the same format, it's a new format. And it just didn't work.
it just didn't work. You could argue it worked for a little while, but
Yeah, but until they introduced Modern, then it stopped working because Modern was just better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I think we all
maybe not
knew.
better, but more people wanted to play Modern than wanted to play Extended.
I don't think any of us, and we're not exactly the most competitive group, any of us thought this was anything but the end of Extended. Because now we're talking about things that have happened since we've been doing the podcast. So this is definitely something we talked about way back in the before time. So I don't think any of us were like, yeah, we think Extended's going to be great with this change. And they'll both, be happy and
Yay!
bye-bye Extended. I'm sure for some people it was awesome. If nobody played it, they wouldn't have supported it.
Exactly.
So, radio. So what year was that again? 2012?
13.
2013.
2013. Right.
We mentioned before in 2014, that was the last time Block Constructed was a format for Premier Play events, for Grand Prix and Pro Tours.
Right.
They used Theros Block Constructed. And I don't know why I said Cons was the last one to have it, because I think as long as there was something like a block being printed. Block constructed existed, even when they were just down to 2 sets in each block.
Yeah, Ixalan was the last time that there was a block at all.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, going back to Extended. If Extended was still a thing right now, it would start at Kaladesh and go to Throne of Eldraine.
That's
Huh.
Yeah, so if they added the sets...
That doesn't seem like all that much.
Well, no. If they added the sets that were on Arena for a hot minute back into Arena, you could actually play Extended.
what would you want?
No, but...
I mean, it's basically double standard.
Pretty much, yeah. It exactly is, because Standard is the last 2 years,
Right.
and Extended is the last 4. So
You doing okay, Dirk?
Mm-hmm.
That was me yawning.
Well, we hadn't heard from Dirk in a little while, so.
Hey, my name is 14, just subbed for the 16th month. On a 16-month
cool.
streak. Nice. Bonus sub and a bonus episode. I appreciate that. Okay, anyway, I just thought I'd share that with about Extended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then in 2014, that's also when Vintage was introduced to MTGO. They started supporting it on there, which
Wow, really?
lots of people love. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Lots of people continue to love.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to pay a gazillion dollars to break into it.
Roughly a zillion gazillion, yeah.
Yeah. Rounding down.
Well, yeah. Now, what's the exchange rate on that?
It's better not to ask.
Also, at some point in there, they made a small change and then walked back the change about a different way to rotate Standard. We would rotate twice a year instead of just once a year. People didn't like that. It was too weird. It was too much.
I remember that.
It only happened one time. I remember I had a little half-joke conspiracy theory that it was just a way to kill the perfect mana in Standard before it got too out of control.
I remember that perfect
When
joke.
Amonkhet hit.
I remember having this discussion and being a little like, well, it was weird, but if you're going to do it kind of thing. And I felt like the way that they implemented it and then walked it back, the timing was just they met. If the intent was yeah, we're going to do this great thing and give it a shot, it was implemented poorly and then walked back poorly. I'm sure some people would say, well, at least they got rid of it sooner rather than later. I can see that, but like it literally affected 1 or 2 sets, right?
That was it.
Yeah, and the problem was you can tell, like, the format after they walked back the change was a god-awful, I can't say that on the show, Clown Fiesta.
Yeah, there was stuff in there that were like, oh, these wouldn't have been in Standard at the same time under that system.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's because things...
Like, either Flux Reservoir and the Eldrazi Titans. That was the big thing.
Yeah, because things that were supposed to have rotated didn't, because people complained, so WotC backed off. So that rotation that we were supposed to have didn't happen, so Standard was just god-awful for a good little while.
It was just weird.
So, yeah, there's a fun fact. You think Standard's bad now? Apparently it is, but it was bad then, too.
Back in my day, we had to walk uphill through the Arcbound Ravagers both ways.
Both ways. Until they got banned.
There was some annoying raptor with Supermorph.
Deathmist Raptor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was annoying.
That was only around for 18 months, and I was fine with that. That was like when they announced that they were changing it back. And people were like, yay! I was like, but there are cards you don't want to see in Standard all the time. I think people were like, we don't want to replace our cards. I'm like, yes, but there's also cards you don't want to have to deal with forever. And 2 years sometimes feels like forever. Like Arcbound Rabbit.
Arcbound Ravager wasn't in standard for 2 years, though.
It was not, because it was banned. But banning things is not. It should be a last resort, not a knee-jerk reaction.
I'm glad.
Oh yeah, I guess they had to reset the sign in R&D the other day. It has been X days since the last standard banning.
Yeah. See, I really do think that they've had this is a discussion I think Bill and I had, or we might have had it on Monday Night Magic, I can't remember. I think there's been a change in the way they view standard bannings. Like, before, they just didn't want to ever ban anything in standard, and nobody wanted them to. But these days, I think they're seeing it more as like a pressure release valve, where they can make things and push things a little more, and then if something goes wrong, well, we can always ban something. It seems to be more like
it's fine if there's one or two cards that were like, okay, oops, we pushed that too far, rather than them having to say, okay, most of this mechanic might have been a mistake.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's unacceptable. Yeah.
He's referring to affinity, by the way.
Yeah. And to a lesser extent, energy.
Oh God, yeah.
Energy was such an awesome concept. It was an awesome, awesome concept. Unfortunately, the way they implemented it.
Yeah. Some of the cards were just too good.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult it was just too difficult to interact with it.
And anytime we talk about inability to interact, like the earliest instance I know of clearly is Shadow, where you just have decks that just don't interact, period. That's not healthy. The game is better when 2 or more people can actually play a game of Magic instead of both goldfishing. Control players. Sorry, what?
What?
No, control decks can actually be incredibly interactive.
Yeah, that's their whole point.
Yep. Right.
The other decks can't interact with them.
That's
Anyway, all right. So
next.
What was that? That was the history of standard with its weird rotation thing that didn't last.
Right.
So what's after that?
All right. After that, I have a note from 2018. Do you have anything between 14 and 18?
No, I'm out of things.
Okay. Brawl was introduced officially in 2018.
Right.
Yay! Woohoo!
As a rotating standard commander, basically. And you don't just have to choose from legendary creatures to be a commander. You can also choose legendary planeswalkers to be a Brawl commander.
Yeah. And Brian likes that one because we just talked about it for an entire episode, the last episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
People liked it. People liked playing it. There was a problem with, the ban list wasn't managed quite right for a while, and the format died down just from people getting frustrated. They did what they could to fix it. They didn't know whether it would be super popular. They didn't know how popular it would be, which is why they had to wait until this year before releasing Brawl-specific supplemental products, alongside Throne of Eldraine. That's just because, you don't want to go all in on something brand new unless you're very, very, very confident about it.
Yeah, and Brawl is essentially the standard to EDH's legacy or vintage or whatever.
Yeah, legacy.
Yeah,
Sure,
since things are banned, yeah, legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And it's interesting. I actually did tinker with my Brawl deck after we finished our episode last time.
Oh, good.
And I'm thinking about making Saheeli the Brawl commander rather than Relzeric.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that works.
Because she's basically a Young Pyromancer, and I love Young Pyromancer. So
You do love Pyromancer quite a bit, and
yes,
she comes down a turn or two earlier, depending on the route we're talking about, and you can just start playing her earlier, playing other spells, and getting the effect. So
yeah. She only costs 3, and she triggers off of non-creature spells, not just instants and sorceries like the Pyromancer does.
right. So she actually triggers off of Ral.
Yes. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that, and maybe switch some other cards around to make it more friendly for her. But yeah. So that aside, yes, people do find Brawl interesting, including me and Brian. And also, 2018 was when, because the block concept officially ended. 2018 was also when block constructed as a format was officially retired.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense anymore with the new way that sets were concepted, and blocks just weren't going to be a thing anymore. But it hadn't really been used in a long time, so whatever.
Sorry, my mouse wheel seems to have stopped working. Oh, there it goes. Awkward. So that's Brawl,
Right.
and I guess that takes us to Pioneer, huh?
Yeah, the present day.
Yeah. We're all caught up.
Yeah. So yeah, Monday they announced that Pioneer was the latest format. And yeah, it starts with Return to Ravnica for some reason and goes to Throne of Eldraine. Now, they said that it's essentially because of, let's see, the format is blah 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 large enough to have cross-block synergies and to give the format its own unique characteristics. Starting with RTR gives the format that is the most different from Modern. Because remember, Modern launched right after Return to Ravnica.
Mm-hmm.
So that means this is what Modern never has looked like.
Yes, exactly.
So that's neat.
That's insightful. I don't think I would have picked up on that on my own.
Me either.
Yeah, I didn't. It says it right here. But
Words. I love words.
now, we did miss one
What we
from
missed?
before this. Well, we missed Historic. But
Oh, that's just on Arena, though, right?
yeah, Historic is essentially only there because Arena forced it to be there. Now, I'm going to rehash some stuff I said on Monday Night Magic last week, and I apologize. But yeah, I get the feeling, because of the Pioneer announcement, that Historic they were just forced into. Because people, sort of like going back to Hearthstone, they have the Wild format. And the Wild format is just all the cards, and you can play them. And that way, when Standard rotates, if you don't want to play Standard and you want to keep playing all these old cards, there's a way to do it. Yay, Wild. And Historic is a similar thing. It's just all the cards that are on this game, you can play them. And remember when they originally announced it, they had like the cards from Historic are going to cost double the Wild cards because screw you, we don't want you to play it. And I'm doing the double bird here, flip off, because that's essentially what Wizards was saying. They're like,
Boom.
but instead of rewarding players for playing Standard, they were punishing players for not playing Standard with the whole double wild card thing and all of that.
There's a difference.
There's a huge difference for that. And they walked it back and said, okay, it'll just be the one wild card to get those cards, which is right. And the community as a whole basically said, that's messed up. And Wizards was like, okay, sorry. But I don't even know if they went, okay, sorry, but they went, okay, fine, have it your way. But yeah, there have been a lot of people complaining.
It might have been more like, well, it was worth a shot.
That's actually probably more accurate, actually. But like, there have been a lot of people complaining that Pioneer could have just been historic had they made it start at Kaladesh and added Kaladesh and Amonkhet back into Arena. But no, it turns out that would have been extended. Oh, who would have thunk it? But I would love to know a more in-depth reasoning of why they started with Return to Ravnica other than, well, it's what Modern has never been. But that might be it.
I mean, I guess they still wanted the Ravnica duels in there, but they didn't want to have to go all the way forward to the most recent Ravnica sets. That'd be too short a window to start in.
That would be standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would literally be standard. Yeah.
They wanted the Shocklands in the format.
Mm-hmm.
Except the Shocklands would be in the format because Guilds of Ravnica.
Oh, because Guilds of Ravnica was... Oh, man.
Yeah. Like, I get what you're saying, but nope, rethink that.
Yeah, I don't think that.
So
things that are in Pioneer and things that aren't in Pioneer. Like Mike pointed out for us earlier, Stoneforge Mystic, not in Pioneer.
Not in Pioneer.
Chase the Mind Sculptor, not in Pioneer.
No. Deathrite Shaman, yes, in Pioneer.
Yes, and it's important to remember there's only 5 cards that are banned, and they're all the lands, which means for now.
Yeah, the fetch lands that were in Khan's block.
I guarantee you there will be some adjustment to this ban list. I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
But like that's why they felt safe leaving Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time legal. Because without the fetch lands, you're not just going to have a bunch of free cards in your graveyard.
Yeah.
Similarly with Deathrite Shaman, you're not just going to have a bunch of free cards in your graveyard.
Yeah. Now, they have said with Pioneer they're going to be watching it closely, and they're going to start banning stuff left and right if it gets too silly.
Yes.
Off cycle, they're not going to wait for the next ban. Nope, for a little while, it's going to be a no man's land where whatever card you're trying to play could get banned next week, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, I'll say the same thing we said on Monday Night Magic. You should probably not dump a lot of money into picking up Pioneer cards, because it's probably going to get banned.
Because it may not be a Pioneer card for very long.
Exactly.
Kibler loses to a combo on stream, banned.
No. He has to do it at a tournament for it to work.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's not give Kibler too much power. He's got enough as it is. But yeah, so that takes us to the most recent thing. And I'm excited to see what happens for Pioneer after the dust settles. Like, I've seen a lot of pro players saying, look, if you're not trying to break the format, you're doing it wrong, because that's our job right now. You have to break the format and make it suck so that they fix it, so then we have a good format.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a pro player and you have the option of playing with completely, utterly ridiculous stuff, I mean, you can take the one route, which is to say, no, you know what, I'm not going to do anything too abusive. Guess what? You're going to get beat.
Yeah, your opponent's off.
Yeah, you won't get your invite.
Oh, I don't agree with Deathrite Shaman not being banned, so I'm not going to play it. Oh, okay. Good for you. Here's my Deathrite Shaman.
And Infinite Cats.
Yes, Infinite Cat.
So yeah. But that's I don't know, do we really have anything else to say about Pioneer just yet?
I think on a not negative point, but I know I mentioned with Chewy in the original phone call, who is this format for? Because like you said, this kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. And I'm like, was there really this pressing need for another non-rotating format? I know some people love their non-rotating format, there's another content producer in particular who his main complaint about Brawl was it's a non-rotating format, and his main complaint about another format was
rotating.
Wait, you mean it's a rotating format?
It's a rotating format. It's not a non-rotating format. So I know some people feel like they want their cards to have a home, and I get that, but I just didn't know there was a clamoring for, yes, we need another non-rotating format. So I just wasn't sure who this was trying to appease. I'm sure there'll be people that love this format. I have no problem with that. I am not here to tell anybody they can't enjoy Magic. I'm just wondering who was in mind when they made this. And did you come to any kind of conclusion discussing this with your Monday Night Magic co-hosts?
No, we weren't thinking about that at all.
Okay.
Who I think who this is for because Modern has basically become another Legacy as far as getting into it. It's extremely stupidly expensive to get into Modern. And so there's no gap. Like from Standard to Modern, it's this giant pit of Grand Canyon. Well, okay, no, from Standard to Vintage is the Grand Canyon. Standard to Legacy is the Grand Canyon, but you've built a little pier out onto it. And Standard to Modern is, I don't know, you're parachuting in from the sky, but your parachute hasn't opened yet. Like, and there's just no middle ground anymore because Modern has gotten so big and so bloated and so expensive.
Okay.
Now, they've done a lot to like fix that over the last couple years with reprints and stuff. Because Modern was getting up to Legacy levels, like straight up, but I think that's still one of the main purposes, though.
Dirk, you were about to say something earlier?
I was trying to see what the specifics were on Pioneer, and I'm reading the specifics on what it is, and I don't feel like this is any particularly special format, because Brawl was essentially its miniature Commander. This is just, it's like, was it Legacies? There's enough formats that now I can't remember what all of them are.
It's a miniature Modern almost, if you want to make that comparison.
Yeah,
essentially that's all it is.
Yeah, this is roughly the same size that Modern was when Modern was first created, roughly.
It's just that it has a specific cutoff, like start and cutoff, and that's essentially because the thing because I'm used to at this point, one of each card, commander, you have a commander and everything. Okay, so this one, essentially, you get 4 cards. And right now, almost anything goes. As long as it's within that block construct, the blocks that are designated.
Which is exactly what it is. Yeah, this
Complete
is...
Wild West, yeah.
This
so
is
no maximum deck size, so minimum of 60 cards.
Yeah, this is like... This is a new tournament format, Dirk. This isn't like a...
Like a casual.
Yeah, this isn't like a Brawl or a Commander. This is a new tournament format. Like, there are already... no, wrong word. What is the freaking MCQs on Magic Online lined up and scheduled? Like, there are already GPs for next year that are Pioneer. Like, they're jumping on this hard and hyping it up, and hopefully it doesn't suck.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that 60 cards will be the standard?
What?
Or do you think there'll be...
Yes.
Dirk,
yeah, it always will be.
Standard and Legacy Vintage also have no maximum deck size.
Okay.
So that's already... I think that's where you're getting confused. I
understand the minimum is 60 cards, but...
That's already the rules for constructed Magic in most formats. So...
Yeah.
You skirt right there at the minimum.
Well,
yeah, because you
mathematically
want to maximize...
there's no reason to ever
right.
go over that.
you always want to draw your best cards. The more cards you add into your deck, the less
Well,
chance
I don't
you
know.
have.
I recall someone in this conversation who had a fairly fat deck that was definitely more than that was really fatter than the minimum. And he would occasionally clean our clocks with his deck.
Well, no, I mean that was just me being silly. Yeah, I have the deck with a lot of dredge stuff that's 120 cards.
Right.
That's just me being ridiculous.
Oh, I thought he was referring to the fact that Mike, at every pre-release, was getting a 60 card field pool. I kid you, he doesn't
And
deny
some
it.
of them were half decent.
Every time.
Oh, Jesus. So,
Some of them were actually not giant heaps of crap.
yeah, you can tell that Dirk doesn't follow the Magic news.
I don't follow the Magic news at all.
Yeah. And I don't think we
So
talked
I
about...
vaguely remember hearing something about, there's a new format. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll hear about this whenever I talk to the guys.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about this at all before the show, because I knew that Mike and Brian had already looked at it, but so apologies, Dirk.
No, that's fine. Like I said, whenever we were kind of getting to it, I'm like, okay, I need to go look up and see what the rules are on this.
Yeah, sorry about
We-
that.
And as soon as I'm like, this isn't all that. I mean, this doesn't exactly cause a major shift. Like, a brand spanking new format. It's no holds barred. It's like, this is no different than other formats we've seen. It's just that
It's just smaller.
Right, it's just smaller.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
We should have covered this a little more in the email, the planning email. That's RB. So
Yeah, the point that where they set the cutoff so that it would have pretty much nothing in common with the way Modern was when it was first established. That also means that there's no affinity, there's no hardened scales, there's no infect, there's no Jund as we understand it now, there's no blah 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 blah, lots of things.
is Hardened Scales not in the format?
Well, no, but Hardened Scales is really an affinity deck.
Okay.
It's really an Arcbound Ravager deck. That's what Hardened Scales
There
is.
you go.
Well, I knew that it was from Tarkir block, the signature spell that the
Right.
It's
The card
named.
itself, is legal in the format, but the deck itself is really an Arcbound Ravager deck.
I got you. It doesn't have the stuff that makes it stupid.
That makes it work, yeah.
Yeah.
So one question, and I'm sort of going through and I'm picking the formats now, like picking on them. It was like, why did they? So Modern, it's 8th and Mirrodin, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Why did they not? Why they cut it? Why did they draw the line there and not include Onslaught and so on and so forth?
Because that's when they introduced the new card format.
The new card frame,
Or one might say the modern card
Okay.
base.
And they were trying to give people an easy visual for being, right 99% of the time about whether a card is legal in this new
Which
format.
loops us all the way back around as far as now with Pioneer, you don't have a visual.
Yeah, you just have to
signifier.
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hence our discussion earlier. Mike's like, but now you can play Stoneforge Mystic and never mind.
Well,
And I'm
that
not
was the
picking
thing
on
is
Mike.
that
That's literally what I said.
Yeah.
but that's sort of easier to understand, like I said, because I'm just going. I don't see why you would leave out certain formats and not others, because there wasn't anything particularly broken in some of the previous blocks.
Maybe, but
Mirrodin, I felt like that was kind of broken.
It's not
'cause
so
you
much
had
about
the
what's
affinity stuff.
It's not so much about what's broken, although that can certainly be a factor because
Yeah.
they don't want people playing those
But
cards.
but I understand that there are certain blocks, like older blocks for Modern, that you'd be like, no, we're definitely drawing the lines. Like, no, that one's definitely not going to be included and all that. It was just one of those things, and I know Mike had gone over and had talked about that part, but It's just kind of interesting to see where they drew the line and said, okay, this is where we're drawing the line on this.
Right.
Yeah, and really, yeah, like it was mentioned in the article. Yeah, that's around the time they originally announced Modern itself, and so that's as good a place as any to start this new format that they want to separate from Modern.
Yeah, it's also, like I said, the same size that basically the same size that Modern was.
Right, roughly the same size.
Yeah.
Although my concern now is, okay, we've got this new Modern-esque format. It's non-rotating. How long will it take? Will it be another 8 years and they feel like, okay, well, we've played to this angle. At what point does this become almost indistinguishable from Modern? I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but is there a possibility that it will get there? I don't know, because sets will continue to come into both Modern and Pioneer at the exact same time. So,
yeah, in 8 years will they establish, Pioneer 2, the Revenge?
So,
the next one will be Explorer. That will be Modern, Pioneer, and Explorer.
that leads us to another thing I wanted to mention is, okay, so when they retired Extended, they said too many formats is bad.
Yep.
That was just what? When did they retire Extended? 6 years ago?
Yeah.
So my question is, this is another thing I talked about on Monday Night Magic. On back in the day, there were essentially 4 formats for the different seasons. There was Legacy and Standard, which we still have. Then there was Extended, which essentially Modern is now. And then there was Block Constructed, which nobody played until they were forced to at essentially gunpoint.
Financial gun.
Exactly, yeah. Do you want to get on the gravy train? Do you want to get on the Pro Tour? You better play this format. So, my question is, will one of these existing formats, because right now we've got Standard and Legacy and Modern and Pioneer, which one is going to become the vestigial stump that nobody plays? And I think we all know it's going to be Legacy. Because Legacy already gets no love. Hardly at all compared to Modern and Standard. Which means at some point, do you think that they'll just stop caring about Legacy? I don't know if they can retire it exactly, but
no,
they can stop looking at it ever and stop.
It's got some dedicated fans.
Well, yeah, but so does.
Yeah, but if only a limited number of people are gonna play that and have old cards that do the things that make some of those decks work.
And
yeah,
that's
Legacy probably gonna be one that's,
because then you've got barrier to entry.
right.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Because if there's going to be certain ones like, all right, I've got this great deck, I turn into a Legacy deck. Well, as soon as they play a Legacy player who's got, 20, however many years Magic's been around, at this point, it's what, 30?
It's
almost
25 and 30.
So, okay, chat just pointed out they won't be killing Vintage. You'll notice Vintage wasn't in this conversation. Because Vintage is already a dead format as far as Wizards is concerned.
Yeah. In paper.
People. They don't sanction events for it. Like, they don't have premiere events for it. It's just a thing that there's a community of people that still play, and it's got some online presence, and that's like it. And I'm thinking that Legacy will just turn into that. It will probably be the one that doesn't get premiere events anymore and whatnot. And then 8 years down the line, they'll make, what'd you call it, Dirk? They'll make Explorer, and then Modern will be the one that's bloated and stupid and no one wants to play anymore. So, are they gonna start rotating rotations? But that's getting way far ahead of myself. I really do believe that Legacy's gonna go the way of Vintage, and it'll just be this other thing that is no longer used by Wizards, but still exists. And will still, be legal to play on Magic Online, but...
Right. And people still sign up for side events at GPs.
Yeah.
Magic
and
Fest, rather.
There'll still be Eternal Weekends,
Oh, yeah.
Because too many formats is bad. It fractures your player base and blah, 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 as they've said many times.
Mm.
And Chad also just says, will Pioneer kill Modern? I don't know yet. If Pioneer becomes fun to play, I don't think you can kill Modern. But if Pioneer, when the dust settles, is a fun format to play, I think it will steal a lot of players from Modern, but I don't think you can kill it yet.
Yeah, even if Modern becomes a Legacy, I mean, remember, Legacy had a serious period of popularity for several years after it got revived first by SCG, hyping it up on their tournament circuit, and then for a while after that. So Modern can stay very popular even if it turns into the Legacy. Modern can stay popular for a while, not indefinitely, but for a while.
See, I wonder if, in terms of constructed as a category, that they'll just have a they'll have an additional category that says this is stuff that gets played. Like, we recognize there's still a community that plays it, but they're going to be sort of side tournaments that have it, and they're just going to sort of they're going to get less press. Like, and I don't mean like less press, even less press than they get now. Like, they won't even be on the main tournament circuit at all. I don't know like the best way to describe it. I'm trying to think. It's like sort of like you got Major League Baseball and then you've got minor league baseball. This would sort of be on that minor league circuit.
Or like how, in recent years, there might be like one Legacy GP or Magic Fest in a region in a year. Maybe eventually Modern will be like that. There's just going to be one Modern Magic Fest just for old time's sake in a region.
Because how many Legacy ones do they have, or even Vintage?
I mean, Vintage you don't get anymore. Vintage is no longer
no
tournaments, no nothing is being done with them.
Well,
now.
nothing
just
by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, just side events and online stuff.
Yeah,
that's all Vintage is right now.
Legacy gets what, 2, maybe 3 GPs every year these days. Maybe 4. Maybe.
Well, and that's sort of where I'm going with this is that I could see that Legacy will just get that. It'll just become, all right, well, we're just going to do 2 a year, and then eventually just peter out. And Modern very well could go that exact same route where eventually it just does that. And again, we would see new formats come out saying, all right, here's the baseline. With
I just want to say, in regards to the whole, will this replace Modern? Feels like Wizards has done has really kind of.
Brian?
How do I say this? Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. I moved away for just a quick second. I had something stuck. But Wizards has thrown a ton of support behind Modern at this point. So I don't know. It's possible that that this could see Modern getting less played, getting less popular, but
the thing is, I think with
so much in Modern, I don't see them trying to do anything to damage it intentionally for quite some time.
Yeah. In terms of Modern and all that, I think the one thing to sort of take away from it is it's not going to be something that's going to be done anytime soon. Maybe not even in the next, if I had to guess, probably next 5 to 10 years. But the thing is that in, let's say, 10 years, you're there. The amount of cards you're going to find that would fall under that are between Modern and Pioneer. The difference in cards between those are going to become so rare and so hard to get that essentially you might as well just play Pioneer.
which is basically what's been happening with Legacy.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's really the heart of what, the whole thing of this is going to eventually get petered out. It's going to be solely because the number of cards of the sets that fall within that range are just going to become so hard to get. And people who are going to be, our age in, that time, they're going to be like, oh yeah, there was this Mirrodin block. And there was a couple of, I think the original Ravnica was in that. I heard there was some really cool cards, but and then that's going to be that'll be the discussion.
Yeah, and then some new upstart podcast will start doing an ultra rarity conscription, and where they go back to all the old sets before there was an ultra rarity.
For the next level of amazingness.
Lord. This is a very strange conversation for us to be having, but it's still, like, I think as outsiders to the tournament world, we can have some of these conversations without any bias. And not
feel like people are gonna burn down the house.
Well, no, people still want to burn down the house, but no, for like, because we don't have any bias. Like, we're not modern players, so they're never gonna kill modern. Like,
yeah,
they might, but...
Or when none of us are even like major Legacy players either, we're like, no, Legacy will be around. I still have my Mirage cards. They'll never die.
Exactly. Yeah. But
save me, Grinning Totem.
And the Grinning Totem will look down and say, "No."
No.
All right. So that's probably a good place to stop that conversation, huh?
No, I mean, yes.
So that was a brief history of the birth and death of formats that were officially sanctioned by WotC.
Yes.
And used in Premier Play. There are way too many qualifiers here, so you heard this stuff at the beginning.
Officially sanctioned Premier Play constructed formats for blah.
With Commander and Brawl thrown in just because.
Yes.
So I have a question, gentlemen.
Si, senor.
I was sent, before this episode started, a pair. I'm only suggesting one. Of very short Mad Libs.
Very short Mad Libs?
Yeah, we're talking 13 spaces.
Okay, let's do a very short Mad Lib.
You want to do a very short Mad Lib before we sign off real quick?
We should totally do a very short Mad Lib.
All right, here we go. Very short Mad Lib. First, okay, dorks and chat. I need one from each of you. I need a creature type.
Demon.
Goblin.
All right, I heard demon first.
I'm sure he'll get Mike.
Demon. And chat said elk. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, do you see elk first, or do you see incarnation first?
I saw with my own eyes elk first, even though incarnation was first. But Squee, get out. He made a Flores joke. Our instance a creature type? Shut up, Mike Flores. Okay, now I need an artifact subtype.
And do you need that from both of us again?
Just whoever.
Artifact subtype.
Oh, I see treasure. Haha.
Treasure.
That's a good one. All right, now I need 2 artifacts. So I'll take one from you guys and one from chat.
Aether Flux Reservoir.
Oh, Jesus.
Reservoir.
Do I have to say it that way? Reservoir.
Yes.
Okay, I wrote it that way.
From chat, we have Soul Ring.
Oh, it's Soul Ring, because of course we do. All right, give me a plane. But not a 737, because apparently we can't use those yet.
Ravnica.
Nope.
Ravnica. All right, how about a Zone of Play?
Mike's Zone.
Mike's... No, wait.
So I don't ever get to say that.
No dying. Mike's Hand. Command Zone. Exile. Anti-Zone. Shut up.
One of those is actually a zone.
You know what?
Hands
I'll sell Mike's hand twice, so we'll go with hand. All right. I need a keyword action. What's a keyword action? I always forget that one.
Like scry. A keyword action is something that you're told to do.
And look, my
Scry,
name is 14.
destroy, regenerate.
Said that at the same time you did. So we'll go with scry.
Okay.
All right. Now, hey chat, give me an artifact. Any old artifact will do. Make it a funny one. Oh God.
Bonesaw.
What? You're not chat. Worm coil engine. All right. We'll see how that. I haven't actually read this yet, so hopefully this isn't awful. I don't know what this means.
What?
I need a part of a card.
So like
heart.
power.
The heart.
Power.
Hey Mike.
Yes.
I hate you. Okay, hang on. Let me jump down here to the...
Yeah. Brian said power, and a few people in chat said power.
Hang on. Let me jump down here and read this section of the thing to see if that makes sense. Nope. So we're going to use it. Okay.
Yep, it's the author's fault if this doesn't make sense.
All right. Dorks, give me another zone of play. Chat, give me another creature type.
Where is it? Hand, right?
Exile.
We already said hand. Yeah. Exile. Okay. Let's see. I see Goblin, Beeble, Merfolk, Noble. What was first? Goblin was first. And then... Oh, I need a guild.
Demiri.
Demir. House Demir.
The Demir.
Not Demiri.
I like Squeeze suggested for the part of the card, the anti-fraud foil circle.
That is a good part. All right.
Probably told Squee to get out of here.
I did. He never listens. He's waiting on me to finish so we can go play more Overwatch. Because Tuesday's our Overwatch day, see? So we're screwing that up by podcasting.
Do you ever play Smash Brothers anymore?
Not on stream.
Okay.
And actually hardly at all anymore because I moved the Switch out there, and when I'm out there, I don't want to be doing something. I want to be sitting passively and just absorbing things. But when I do turn on the Switch, it is to play Smash Brothers. For now. Right. Okay, anyway. So, here we go. This is a spooky MTG Mad Lib story.
Ooh.
So here we go. It is called... What was our... Hang on, I have to resize this so I can see everything. It's called The Demon Statue. Because the title is got the first thing we picked. So, The Demon Statue. An elk in her teens babysat for... Jesus. Okay.
Here we go.
An elk in her teens babysat for a wealthy family one night. The wealthy family had a very large house with many treasures. Ooh. Mm-hmm. It was filled with lots of Aetherflux reservoirs and old soul rings from all over Ravnica. As the parents were leaving to go out, the father told the elk, damn it, that's not going to stop being funny, that once she put the kids down, she must go to the hand.
Yeah, she does.
Scry there and not go wandering around the house. So go to the hand and scry there. Okay.
And scry.
So, once the kids are asleep, the elk retires to the hand to scry.
Like you do.
Like you do. However, she cannot concentrate because in the corner of the room is a life-size demon statue grinning at her.
Oh, wow.
Statue watching you scry.
Life-size grinning demon, that's like a 6'6", that's enormous.
Jesus, that could kill Mike in a second. She finally decides to drape a worm coil engine over the statue so she can ignore it. After a while, she can't stand looking at the demon statue's oversized power sticking out from under the worm coil engine.
Family show.
She decides to call the father and ask his permission to scry in another room because she's freaked out by the giant statue in the hand room. Okay, listen very carefully, says the man to the elk. Our children have been complaining about a demon that comes into their exile. What? In the middle of the night. We just thought it was goblins. We don't own a demon statue. You need to get the kids out of the house now. I'll call the Demir.
That was the wrong group to call.
The elk hangs up the phone, turns around to look at the covered demon statue, but all there is a worm coil engine on the floor. Then she hears something coming down the hand stairs. And that's the end.
Ooh.
Dun dun dun!
It's so good it gave me hiccups.
So that was from our old buddy Magnor Creel, who sent that to me just before this show started.
Oh, I'm not surprised. That was good.
That was pretty good.
Oh.
Now, he did send me 2 spooky ones that he swore were very short. And
I gotta go to bed.
Oh, but Dirk has to go to bed. Let's see how short.
I can stick around to do another one.
Oh, this one's only 9? Oh.
Okay. Dirk, a final thought?
Yeah, Dirk, you go to bed. We will knock this one out real quick.
My final thought. I didn't know about all the different formats. I'm familiar with some of them, but some of the name changes have sort of just been, oh, okay. And then I never thought about it again, so I still occasionally, like Brian had pointed out, still think of Type 1 and Type 2 because that's what I was familiar with. But all right, well, that's my final thought for the night, and everyone have a wonderful night.
Fair enough. All right, Dirk, and enjoy Halloween with the kids.
I think they'll have fun.
But yeah, I know they will because you're walking around in a costume getting candy. But I said I hope you enjoy Halloween with the kids.
I can't make any guarantees on that one.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
My job is to hand out the candy, so I just get to sit there and be like, here you go. Have some. So, good night.
Good night, sir.
Good.
All right, so real quick. Dorks.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Chat, give me a vehicle. Dorks, give me a non-basic land.
Sorrow's Path.
Oh, God. Hang on, where did... There it is. All right, non-basic land. Sorrow's Path. Vehicle. Looter Scooter. What's Looter Scooter's name? Hang on.
Smuggler's Copter.
Oh, it's Rival Smuggler. Okay, Smugglers.
Legal and Pioneer for this
Copter.
week only.
All right.
Act now. What's last?
Give me a stepper phase of the turn. And also a basic land type.
Declare blockers.
There's no way that'll not be funny. Declare blockers and a basic land type. I see swamp.
Swamp, yep.
Alright, now I need an artifact and also a creature type.
Creature type, I'll say Assassin.
Assassin, okay? Mana Crypt, okay. Now I need a legendary artifact. And a normal artifact. Chandra stand.
Ember Cleave. Ember Cleave is legendary, right?
It is.
All right, normal artifact.
Life staff.
What the hell's
That's
a
a card,
life
right?
staff?
What's a life staff?
I think it's some stupid common equipment from Scars of Mirrodin. Let me look this up.
I was gonna say I don't recognize that at all. Gatherer.
There might be another word in its name that I'm forgetting.
Yeah, there's nothing called life staff. Life.
As one word or two words?
Both.
Well,
Okay, never mind.
chat says voltaic key, so.
Sure.
All right, we'll go with the Silvok life staff.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
There. Okay, well, we'll go with that then, since Mike said that's what Mike was trying to say, but he's dumb. Silvok life staff, and finally, I need an instant or sorcery that deals damage.
Instant or sorcery that deals damage?
Yeah.
There are none.
Fire and Brimstone.
Is that a card?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not red though, it's
card.
black.
It's white.
Right? Oh no, I'm thinking of Hellfire.
Hellfire is a Hearthstone card. What the hell?
Fire's also a magic card.
Fire and Brimstone.
And Brimstone. I'll be damned. What?
Yeah, that's the idea, yes.
4 damage to 4 damage to target player who attacked this turn, and 4 damage to you. For 3 white at instant speed. Thanks, the Dark.
Broken.
You are welcome, Chewie.
Yeah, here's the card. Just for a quick.
You know,
second.
I can put that card in my Fire Song and Sunspeaker deck because it's a white spell. It'll gain it's a instant. Oh wait, no, it won't have lifelink. Never mind.
No.
No, it doesn't go in.
So that was quick.
You can put it in your Fire Song and Sunspeaker deck and fake people out. It's like, you thought I was going to gain some life and deal you extra damage. Well, you were wrong.
And I'm just picturing Fire Song and Sunspeaker as like, the Church of Latter-day Saints dressed up in really nice white shirts, knocking on your door. Excuse me, do you have a minute to talk about Fire and Brimstone?
Anyway, all right.
Anyway.
So that was quick. That was 9.
Okay.
Here you go. This is entitled The Shiny Smuggler's Copter.
Aw.
A couple were driving home. Oh, wait, hang on. It's a spooky story. A couple were driving home in a smuggler's copter and were a little ways from the nearest Sorrow's Path when the light failed. And they knew they would have to seek shelter for the declared blockers step. Because you don't want to be out in a dark declare blocker step. The husband spied a light through the trees and turned their smuggler's copter into a small lane leading up to a swamp. Huh. A pleasant little...
What?
Hang on.
Did you miss something?
Okay, yeah, this makes sense, I guess. A pleasant little mana crypt stood at the crest. And an old assassin and his wife met the couple at the door. They welcomed the travelers and offered them a room. The travelers awoke early, before the old assassin and his wife, and as they departed, they left a shiny embercleave, in the center of the kitchen. Oh, in the center of the kitchen Silvok lifestaff.
Okay.
You know, you've got your kitchen Silvok lifestaff, you've got your bedroom Silvok lifestaff, yeah. Where the old couple could not miss it. The husband hitched up the smuggler's copter, and they went a few miles before they ate breakfast in the Sorrow's Path nearby. That's ominous. The husband mentioned the nice old assassin couple to the owner of the restaurant, and the man turned pale. "Where did you say that house was?" he asked. The husband described the location in detail. "You must be mistaken," said the restaurant owner. "That house was destroyed 3 years ago by fire and brimstone that killed the assassin family." I don't believe it, the husband said flatly. Mr. and Mrs. Assassin were alive and well, last declare blockers. After debating for a few more minutes, the couple and restaurant owner drove the smuggler's copter back out of Sarah's path towards the swamp where the old assassin couple lived. They turned into the lane, which was overgrown with weeds, and climbed the swamp to the crest. There they found a burned out shell of a mana crypt that had obviously not sheltered anyone for a long time. I must have missed the trek, said the husband. And then his wife gave a terrified scream and fainted into his arms. As he caught her, the husband looked into the ruin and saw a burnt kitchen Silvok lifestaff with a shiny embercleave sitting in the center. Dun dun dun!
No, not Mr. and Mrs. Assassin.
Let's climb this swamp like we did last Declare Blockers. All right. Well, thank you, Magnor Creel, for the spooky story. Oh, that was entitled The Shiny Mana Crypt, by the way. Although
Okay.
I get the feeling since it's shiny, it's probably supposed to be the Shiny Embercleave.
Maybe.
But anyway. Yay, spooky stories.
Yay.
I was totally spooked. I peed a little. All right. Well then, how about some final thoughts for you from you two?
For my part, I'm tired. Last week, I mentioned that I was trying a new mobile game, Last Cloudia. It had just come out. I guess that was 2 weeks ago now. And it's awesome. And it has more than lived up to the hype. I understand why a lot of content producers for mobile games have been hyping this. It's been available in Japan since April, and it's really, really fun. It's so much fun. It's a little grind heavy, but a lot of games are. It's extremely free to play friendly. It's just fun in a way that a lot of other mobile games unfortunately aren't. So go give it a shot. Other than that, hope everybody has a happy Halloween. Don't stay in burned down mana crypts. Just seems like a bad idea. And if somebody asks you to babysit and they want you to go upstairs to the hand room and there's a grinning demon statue in there, I don't care about the kids. You just jump out the window and run away and don't come back, because that's just a bad trip. Just a bad trip. So, anyway, this was an insightful and interesting discussion, and I hope everybody has a wonderful night. And I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I will talk to you guys later.
Maybe.
Night-night.
Okay, Mike?
All right. For one thing, for the assassin couple to be destroyed by fire and brimstone, they must have done something pretty bad.
Well, they were assassins.
They were. Second thing, so I saw a movie last Friday night. I went to see The Current War. Have you seen any promos for that, Chewy?
No.
It's basically a retelling of Edison and Westinghouse, and Tesla's in there, and like a dramatic retelling of the fight over the development of the public power grid in the United States.
Oh, okay. The current. Gotcha.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So does
It's
it
got
show
really-
Edison being a giant jerk?
It humanizes him a bit more. Yeah, I mean he's still a jerk about things, but he's not the mustache twirling villain that people want to make him out to be sometimes.
Oh, I don't know about villain. I just know he was a dick.
Yeah, he was, but I'm saying that some people I think villainize him too much.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he was a jerk. He's played by Benedict Cumberbatch, and it's a
Ooh.
good job. Yeah, and it was really neat. Like, I'm glad I didn't let the reviews I happened to catch sight of when I was looking for movie times discourage me from going to see it, because I liked it a lot. But I think at the time when I was looking for movie times, I saw it had like a 37% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and like a bunch of low star reviews from critics and whatever. But I don't know. I don't know what they saw. I enjoyed that movie. It was a bit long, but I think the showing that I went to see was actually billed as the director's cut. So I don't know what the normal cut looks like. I don't know what they would have cut for time. But there was a point near the end where I was like, "Ooh, boy, how much longer do we got here?" I'm getting a little tired. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. They didn't spend one thing that was different from most movies, that they like didn't spend hardly any time on exposition. Like when they needed to introduce a character, most of it happened like within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, and it was just like, their name would show up, in their name and a short description of like a 3 or 4 word max description of who they were would show up in text on the screen underneath them. So
Well, that's neat.
yeah, no elaborate setup, really fast, interesting pacing, neat characters, very, very nice cinematography, looked amazing, and yeah, I enjoyed it, so I recommend it.
Awesome.
Hmm.
All right. Well, is that it then?
Yes, it is.
Fair enough. I guess that just leaves me. So, apologies for all the Halloween talk, with the little bit of Halloween talk for anyone listening to this afterwards, because it's not going out until after Halloween, because it's still going to go up on Sunday as usual. So, I hope everyone enjoyed their Halloween in the future that is now the past. Whoa. Let's see. What have I got going on? I don't know. I watched a movie. What did I watch? I watched Always Be My Maybe on Netflix.
What's that?
It was cute, but kind of predictable, but still cute,
Mm-hmm.
Well performed and all of that, but it's, if you watch romantic comedies, you've seen it before.
Okay, one of those things.
Yeah, but it was really well done. It's not going to crack my top 3 or 4 lists by any means, which in no particular order is Pretty Woman, Dirty Dancing, Serendipity, and crap, I forgot the other one. Oh well, it'll come to me later, like at 3 a.m, and I'll go, oh, but then I won't be doing the show. But I've got like 4 that are above everything else, and then there's everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So, yeah, as far as what's going on in the content side of things, so, on youtube.com/themanapool, what have we got going on here? I've just wrapped up all of the Hearthstone videos that I was going to make from the Doom in the Tomb event, which I think ends tomorrow? Seems like it ended the day before Halloween. I don't know if that's right or not, though. I also I made 2 videos out of a game that is brand new that Mike actually sent me, called Sea Salt. That was a lot of... Have you played it yet, Mike?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to sit down and play it yet. I watched your videos, though.
Oh, man.
Looks like it turned out well.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
It's this weird hybrid of a real-time strategy game and like a twin-stick shooter.
Mm-hmm.
It's the closest approximation that I can put to it. And it looks like you just run around and kill stuff, but then by level 2, you realize you have to be very tactical with what you're doing. And in this game, you are Dagon, the Lord of the Deep, and you are sending your minions to destroy the surface world, essentially, in so many words.
Yeah.
And it's not great for streaming, I don't think, and for YouTube videos, but it is a hell of a lot of fun to play. So by all means, check it out. What else? I had some Dota Underlords videos go up because the big update happened in Dota Underlords, which added the Underlords, which is a thing that didn't exist until this big update. Before it was just the name of the game. Now they're an actual thing called the Underlords. They added 2 of them, which is like the unit that is your main unit, who is the boss, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And it added something like 12 new heroes and a handful of new alliances, and a bunch of heroes changed alliances, and added some new items and removed some items. And they called it the big update for a reason. It's like playing a brand new game, and I am here for it. I love it. I love it. So that'll be a thing that I stream more often, and probably end up knocking a few videos out here and there. But I put up my very first game, and then my very second game, because that game was hilarious. Because I was hitting people with ham, because I had a giant ogre magi, and I had two big time contracts. Now, if you play Underlords, you're like, damn. And if you don't play Underlords, you're like, what in the blue hell are you talking about? But it's just ham. I was just hitting people with ham, and they would die, and it was beautiful. Just ham. Because every time he swings with his giant ham, I would go ham, ham, ham. Anyway. But it's also the first game I played with each of the 2 Underlords. The first one I played with an Essex. The second one I played with Hobgen. I don't know how to say his name. It's Hobgen. I'm going to say Hobgen until someone tells me it's officially otherwise. But anyway. And then finally, starting, I guess tomorrow as of this recording, I'm going to start the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon playthrough videos. And I'm super excited about that because this game was brilliant. It was a gift from Pineapple or Umpax, depending on where you see him. And
neat.
It was on sale one day for something, and someone's like, "Hey, Chew, you gonna play this?" I was like, "I can afford this." And he goes, "It's like this many dollars here," and he just bought it and sent it to me. And I was like, "Oh, thank you." So yeah, I played it, and I played through it on stream, and now it's going up on YouTube, and it's awesome. It's very much a 2D 8-bit Castlevania 3 homage. So Bloodstained Ritual of the Night was the big game that got kickstarted, which was a Metroidvania style game, or an Igavania if you prefer, whatever. But Curse of the Moon was one of the stretch goals on that big ass Kickstarter for a retro style 8-bit game that's like a side-scrolling platform. It's Castlevania 3 but with modern design sensibilities, essentially. And yeah, it's gonna be 8 episodes on YouTube, and it's awesome. Because once you find all of your, just like Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, once you find your other playable characters, you can switch between them at will, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and there's a big ass boss at the end of every level. The bosses are awesome, except for that one who was a Mega Man X villain who can go right to hell. The rest of them were awesome.
That's another game that I supported on Kickstarter and haven't gotten around to playing yet. I need to stop doing that.
What, Bloodstained?
Yeah.
Nice. Can your computer play Bloodstained?
I don't know. I haven't tried yet.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Steam downloaded it and installed it, so who knows?
Did you get Curse of the Moon to go with it?
I guess so.
Oh,
I think
dude.
everybody got that, right?
I have no idea. It's a prequel, though. You should play it first.
Okay.
Or watch my videos. Hey! And then play it, because it's really good. So yeah, that's just what's going on right now on YouTube. Now, if you're seeing this on if you're hearing this on Sunday the 3rd of November, which is when it goes public, make sure, come to twitch.tv/themanapool that night and see if I'm streaming. I've got a new series that I'm going to start streaming that I don't know if it's going to go turn into YouTube videos or not, because it's kind of big. So I haven't decided that yet. I have to see how the first couple streams go. But it's a new series. It's a Switch game. And it's big and awesome. Is that all I'm going to tell you? Do I tell you the rest? Mike, do I tell him the rest? Do I tell him what game it is?
You can tell me the rest.
What? I already told you the rest, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Oh. Well, then I guess I wasn't paying sufficient attention. Or I just don't remember.
Yeah, the next big YouTube series, or not YouTube series, Twitch streaming series that will possibly turn into YouTube videos is the new version of Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening.
Oh, you did tell me about that.
I did tell you that, yeah, you crotch. So it was a gift from Gothic Man, whose name you'll hear in a minute in the Patreon thing. So that's totally gonna start. He wants me to start it on a Sunday so he can watch because of his work schedule, and he's usually at work while I'm streaming the rest of the week. So yeah, I'm gonna start it on a Sunday, possibly that Sunday. So yeah, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube the first day that it's out, come over to twitch.tv/themanapool and see if I'm streaming it, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be streaming it on Sunday. I'm very excited, because I never played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, because I didn't have a Game Boy at that point. I mean, I had one, but it was a normal Game Boy, and then I only had like a couple games, and then I never got any more. I never did the Nintendo mobile thing. Not never.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, Thomas and I both enjoyed Link's Awakening a lot. I think he played through it twice.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I'm going to play through the remake at least once. So yay, very excited. But with that, I'm going to shut up now, because I just realized this episode's gone way longer than I thought it would, because we talked longer than I thought we would, and then we did 2 Mad Libs, and now I'm still talking. So hey, let me remind you that if you want to help support what I do, because Manapool Productions is a Patreon-supported endeavor, which means I do, let's see, 2 podcasts a week, most weeks. I didn't this week, but that was because I had to drive. But yeah, we do 2 podcasts a week. We stream those 2 podcasts. I have at least 1 YouTube video that goes up every day, and all those streams every week. I usually don't stream on Tuesdays and Sundays, but obviously I'm screwing that up this week. And all of that is well, that's a lot of work for one person. So I appreciate all of the support. And you can go to patreon.com/themanapool to become a lifeguard, which gets you a variety of perks. You can get Manapool episodes and YouTube videos early. Like right now, the first 4 Curse of the Moon videos are up on Patreon for you to watch. I finished getting those up today. You can get access to the odds and ends, which is all the nonsense recorded before and after both Monday Night Magic and the Manapool. Earlier today, I got 2 of those up. One from the episode of the Manapool that we had Chase on, 563, and a Monday Night Magic that happened the following Monday. So yeah, hell yeah. That's behind the scenes nonsense. It's uncensored and unfiltered for the most part. And yeah, hell yeah. And you can become a Mythic Lifeguard and get the sponsorship shout out on the end screen for all the YouTube videos and during each podcast. So I'd like to thank Jason Doan, Kim Ho, Andrew Hunt, Al, Lance Delicious, Team Hellos, How Are You, Connor Kennedy, John Morris, Alex Gonzalez, Scuzzo, Jeff Spencer, Stuart Slaw, PJ McMullen, Sophia Brattain, Casey, Fayen Says, Danny Liao, Cody Buckowing, Jake Jansen, Jason Kaus, Gothic Man, yeah, him, John Parker, Violet Moon, Mike? Huh, I missed one somewhere. Stark Maximum. Oh, he's probably swearing at me listening to this. Dan Holm, Bartle, Sarah Jane, and the Beast Father, Aaron Goodwine. Who? So yes, thank you all so very much for your support. I quite literally couldn't do it without you. And to all of the lifeguards at every tier, literally you make it so that I can do this and keep bringing you this stupid amount of content every day. Yay!
Yay!
So with that, this has been the Manapool number 572, a bonus Tuesday night episode, so we didn't have to skip 2 weeks, because that would suck. And thank you all so very much for joining us, and go play some Magic.